Today, we're talking with Jim Liu, CEO of SEO Vendor, about AI's impact on SEO in the months and years ahead. Welcome to BeyondSaaS. I'm Jason Niedle, founder of Tethos. And we've taken all that we've learned from these podcasts and put them into a hypergrowth playbook. You can grab that at tethos.com/podcast or drop the word growth and I'll send it to you. Today, I'm really excited to talk about tech company growth with Jim Liu. This is a hot topic for all agencies and I think all tech companies. He is the CEO of SEO Vendor, and they provide not only SEO services, but also an AI growth tools platform. They have a really great white labeling program for agencies like me. And Jim has, in his past 20 years of experience, been the founder and the inventor, has patented SEO tools, and he grew SEO Vendor from one person to over 55 employees, over 40,000 partner agencies. It sounds like they have over 200,000 users now, and obviously tens of millions in generated income. So this is where you need to be looking for your SEO. And Jim, I hear you're on the cutting edge of the developing tools for SEO in AI, and that's really interesting to me. So welcome today.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So tell our listeners a little bit about SEO Vendor. I've done my research, but they may or may not know you. So give them an overview.
So SEO Vendor, actually, we specialize in white label SEO for the most part. About 7-8 years back, we've gotten started in AI development simply because we were looking for a more efficient way to develop in-house tools at the time. And at first, it started with analytics analysis. So purely tools that we just couldn't find on the market. I mean, you have a lot of good tools for SEO, certainly. You have SEMrush, you have Ahrefs, and a whole lot of other tools that are available, but not so much in the AI space, especially 7 or 8 years ago. But we were out there developing these proprietary AI neural network-based engines at the time and putting them to work. And so we've developed I would say close to about 1,000 cases at the time, just to kind of see and benchmark how does that perform versus, say, an individual who had to go in the analytics side of things. And it actually turned out that over time, you got a lot more consistency in results. And, we were able to boost it to the point where you had a very similar performance to a person who would actually go through the SEO analytics side. We still rely on people. I mean, still somebody that's using the tool and they're looking at the information that's the AI is concluding and making a decision off of that.
So as an agency owner, I look at SEO in a way, you may not like me saying this, but in a way as a hack. Like Google's out there saying, what's the most important information? And then my job is to somehow hack that to say, look, I know this company's smaller, but I want them to be the most important. So they float higher up. And traditionally, the way we've done that is offsite, like more inbound links and more important inbound links makes that company more important. And by optimizing the content on the site and by not really cheating, but okay, are my H1 tags right? Are the technicalities right? Are all these things Google wants? Is the site speed fast enough? Blah, 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 blah. And it feels like in this new AI world that many of those methods are not going to exist anymore. Like XOAI is building an entirely new neural network. They're going to find the sites that are actually important. How do we handle that in the future? How are you building tools that will be able to actually get that out there that aren't just like put great information on your site all the time?
Yeah. I mean, that certainly is a good point. I mean, SEO is changing. Some people say it's dead. Others are looking for, there's LLM visibility, which are basically large language models and trying to earn visibility inside of recommendations from those artificial intelligent engines. I think I think we still have to ground ourselves on some principles that still exist. Essentially, an online presence of any kind, I mean, unless you're trying to do something that is, in our industry, what we call black hat, going out there and trying to, intentionally trying to cheat the system, which certainly we don't do. We never have. We have actually a SEO code of ethics policy. But essentially, what you're looking to do is you're still looking to build your brand visibility. And that's something that everybody from the small business to the Fortune 500 companies that we work with, they all have to still deal with that reality. And that doesn't change just because AI and large language models have come around.
And so what are the new angles? If it's not messing with my H1 tag and in the olden days, we used to put, every single city ever and then in the county in there and white text and stupid things, right? Which we haven't had to do for years. How are you looking at this in the future? Like what needs to change in terms of what agencies are doing?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. So typically, I mean, what we call the technical side of SEO, those H1 tags, meta descriptions, titles, and all that, they are still going to matter, but just perhaps it's not going to matter in the same way that they did before. So I'll just give you an example. Even ChatGPT today, if it has to go out onto the web and look for an answer in the background, it is still reliant on a search engine. And the same goes for a lot of these other large language models as well. And so the visibility index on that when it's going to go and utilize that side of its function still relies on a list of some sort. So who is in the number one spot, who is in the number two spot and third, and so on. So of course it does a lot more than that. It actually goes in and reads the material. And so you still have to have good content, and the content has to be relevant and perhaps has to be more on point these days than ever before. Essentially, if we're talking about title tags and things of that nature, they're still going to matter in that they're trying to keep the topic on point. Meaning you probably don't want to be doing any kind of things like keyword stuffing, because in other words, is the content actually relevant to a person that's going to be looking at it? Because if a person looks at it and says, well, this title looks awkwardly weird, like it's too intentionally made so that it's trying to rank, that's probably not a good idea anymore these days. Or, well, I'm going to put a whole lot of thought into the meta description in and of itself. Well, meta descriptions don't really matter even to regular search engines these days. And so those relevancy factors have to be taken into consideration, and other factors, like I was saying before about the content quality and how much it actually matters to readers, the relevance of the information. How much does it actually answer somebody's question? That's going to matter a whole lot more.
So, we have a lot of C-suite listeners. What do they need to know? What do they need to be doing with their site to make sure that they still have prominence in this new era?
There's certainly is a wide range of factors that are still going to matter. So it's going to be very tough to narrow it down to just say one or two. But I would say that some of the areas that perhaps your listeners might be interested in is looking at their products and services and be able to then determine from that what kind of content actually matters to the audience, which sounds like very basic marketing, right? It sounds like marketing 101, but you have to be still looking at that because you can't really get away from the fact that there's a particular audience that you want to target. It's just that, are you consciously actually taking that into consideration? And also, are the products and services that you're offering, are you doing useful content that people want to engage with, that's actually providing relevant information? So I'll just give you an example. If, say, you have a dentist and they want to be seen as relevant in their space going forward, what should they do? Well, perhaps in the past, 6-page website would have been fine mentioning their products and services, and that's all they got. They may have a blog that they update perhaps every once in a while, and that's typically what we see on the market. However, I think going forward, for example, the user experience is going to matter a whole lot more. And it's kind of strange to think about that in terms of, well, what does that matter to, let's say, a answer engine or to a large language model? And how do we take all that into consideration? But at the same time, we have to recognize that what about the prominency of the doctor in its online presence measured as a whole? So looking at that, you're looking at certainly the reputation of that doctor. You're looking at things like, how well are they known online? And across their own website, perhaps what kind of information are they putting out? Is it latest? Is it cutting edge? Is it information that is very general, meaning you could find it on Wikipedia, or it's more of just general educational knowledge? Or is there something there that's significant that perhaps this doctor can provide from their own experience? What is specific, say, for example, toward a particular practice, procedure, or perhaps there are specific definitions that they're helping their audience or their patients understand. And I think looking at that deeper level is something that everybody has to start thinking about.
Sure. So let's talk about SEO vendors growth. I always wonder, you are literally in the most competitive field for someone finding you, right? You're an online tool that is a head-to-head competitor with every other SEO agency tool out there. How do you deal with that? How do you look at your site and your own SEO and your own terms that you want to own? Like that seems like a massive challenge for any SEO company.
Yeah, well, I mean, we certainly are in a very competitive space, and if we didn't care about our own online visibility, people are going to find it questionable. Are we, do we actually know what we're doing? I think a lot of times it's important to be able to utilize ourselves as the example and to be able to put ourselves out there on the leading edge of how to create that new online visibility, which changes in our industry about once every 6 months. So that has not really changed. Some people might even say that might have accelerated because of AI and large language models. But the industry has always been that way. And so, I mean, looking across our last 20 years and how we did things 20 years ago versus how we do things now, there's some very big obvious changes. And what we do to promote ourselves certainly has transitioned along the way as well. But the areas that we continue to place an importance is really building that online presence, whether that be through publications, whether that be through thought leadership, putting case studies out there that actually really matter and can showcase, for instance, the latest and greatest what's happening in the large language model space. And also at the same time, trying to build what we call the content and the tools. So actually putting things that are useful for people to come and use is also part of it as well. I think, that also helps us to differentiate ourselves from the other SEO companies out there.
Sure. So besides SEO and thought leadership, what are you doing to reach agencies? What specific things are you doing to reach out from a marketing and sales perspective?
Well, a lot of times it's about finding solutions to problems. So agencies that come to us, typically they're gonna fall into different roles, different segments. So for example, we have some expertise, SEO experts that are coming to us, but they're more engaged on a freelance level. Basically, that is their business. They may be a one-person company of sorts, and they're highly skilled. They may know everything about SEO. And so in those kinds of cases, our tools end up helping them out sufficiently to be able to help them do something faster or being more productive. But as their company grows, let's say, and they get a little bit more serious about that, that's when they start coming in and talking to us about service offerings. So that's the other part that we engage in is white label. So that flexibility, I think, allows companies and firms in the marketing space to be able to start where they're most comfortable with, and also within the market space that they're in. So for example, if they're in national, they focus more on national companies, or whether they focus more so on the local space, there is the availability or the service that we're able to accommodate. Essentially, we have the grounding or the different possibilities that agencies and individuals and freelancers, they're able to come and kind of adjust and adapt to what best suits them.
Sounds like you're clear on your ICPs and then you're adjusting your offering to fit exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
So if you look internally and you see like what constraint might be holding you from faster growth, or if there was something that you could change in your own company so that you could grow faster, what might that be? How could you grow faster?
The obvious would be we can't grow fast enough. Meaning, if we had just an infinite amount of resources, we would be looking and evaluating thousands of different AI tools and thousands of different up and coming AI company and what they're doing, and looking at what they're doing and evaluating and testing. And so while we try to do as much of that as possible, the AI universe is just expanding so fast that we kind of have to focus down a bit on the things that really matter. If I could, I would definitely have us look at and explore even more possibilities, maybe expand in greater parallel to be able to offer more features and services through our platform.
What specifically is one of your favorite AI tools right now that you have?
we still like ChatGPT. I mean, overall, we've been evaluating quite a bit across all the different large language models, and some of the new things they're doing, like with Codex and some of the other new features they have, being able to basically control computer use and all that is quite groundbreaking. And while other companies have had that, the thing is we've compared large language models quite a bit. And at the end of the day, the nuances in search engines matter to us. And especially, for example, if we're talking about how we use it, because a lot of times, like for example, we have some tools that are reliant on an underlying large language model. And so we allow users, for example, to switch between those, and they can use Grok, they can switch it to even DeepSeek. And so we've tested on a number of different models. And overall, we find that there are a lot of nuances that are really important, and of these large language models, especially new ones that are being released all the time, how much of a difference are they versus the previous generation? And let me tell you, it feels like it's almost changing every day.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Guest on episode 44 was from Exa AI, and she was talking about how they're building one of the first, or maybe, well, one of the earliest neural network, true neural network native AI search engines. What do you think about those new search engines related to SEO?
I think no matter what in this space, you're going to see a lot of innovation for sure, and people are going to want to try and approach it differently. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I think we're still going to end up with a situation where there's probably going to be a mass market adoption of AI generated results. Let's just put it that way. So, for instance, Google has taken one approach where they have AI mode. They have a lot of AI segmented results that are coming up in search now, and this is something that is new. And they've greatly grown that segment out. And it seems like as they're doing that, the market is also getting a good feel for now. For example, you may not necessarily just ask Google a very simple question, or it's got a lot of those autocomplete results. But now you could maybe ask it some questions that have a lot more nuances. Perhaps if you're looking for shoes, I run on this track and I've got this particular situation, or my knee, it's got this issue. So what kind of shoe kind of fits that particular situation? I'm looking for that particular product versus in the past where, well, I'm maybe just be looking for Nike shoe ratings. What's the most comfortable pair of shoes out there? So that kind of personalization into the market space, you're going to see a whole lot more with these AI-based search results.
For sure. What should other CEOs know about growth in the years ahead, about growing their company? Are there new tools they should be adopting? Are there trends and patterns? Like, what should other CEOs know about growing sales?
These days, you have a lot of companies that are developing tools, or they've already developed tools, especially for sales, in email marketing, in phone calls, in cold calling, in resale, in follow-ups, in combination with automation a lot of times. One of the most important indicators, I think about 3 months ago, we made a presentation on this actually about how to go about AI operations, and that has to do with sales and marketing. And one of the things I think your listeners might be interested in is to kind of look at how important is AI versus automation. And it's something that we do within our company as well. So people may not realize it, but there's so much being thrown around about AI, but perhaps 90% of what they really need is just automation. And there's a difference between those two.
Do you need AI or do you need automation? That's a great point.
Yeah. So, or maybe both. So for example, you'll see a lot of times there's these a lot more targeted, personalized emails that people are using within their email campaigns. Well, first of all, do they have an automated marketing campaign already? Or if not, then maybe that's the first step versus, okay, I got an AI that can go out and fetch information about a particular company or try to find out more information so that I have a more complete set of data to be able to back up what I'm going to say to this person and be able to mention something a lot more specific to that company. So you see a lot of that going on, and there are benefits to using AI in that instance, but probably the more important thing is making sure you're getting your conversions and that you have an email automation system in place in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. Any final closing thoughts that you have here? Anything I forgot to ask about?
Well, I mean, you've asked a lot of great questions today. I think going forward, if people are concerned, certainly there's a lot of concern out there about AI and what it's going to do to disrupt a business. Right now, you've got kind of two different camps. You've got some that are looking at AI and they're willing to accept everything about AI, and then you have those that are kind of closing themselves off and we don't want anything to do with AI. But one thing I just want to point out is that at the end of the day, the AI is just a tool. So you have about 60, 70 years ago when people first invented calculators and they said, well, calculators are banned from school. You can't use that kind of tech, and it's taken away people's jobs and work and the calculators, because people used to sit in rows and do them manually. And society, if you look back at that now, it looks kind of ridiculous. But I think it's important to keep an open mind about what AI is and what it isn't. It doesn't have to be your buddy. You don't have to be frustrated about it, or it doesn't have to take on a more emotional space. It's just a tool at the end of the day. So I think that kind of helps to establish, hopefully give people some clear ideas about what really AI is and how to use it for. Because at the end of the day, at least for now, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. But at least for now, it's still somebody's initiative. Somebody took that idea and ran with it. It's not like AI just appeared out of nowhere on its own. Still, somebody took that initiative and made something happen, and they happen to do it with AI.
Yeah. You made me think of an analogy with the calculator. It's like, however many years later, 100 years later, let's say, probably less than that. But do we look back and do we say that calculators killed the abacus experts? Or do we look back and say calculators have superpowered what mathematics and mathematicians and all of us can do, right? And we look and just say, yeah, it's supercharged. Such a simple tool, but it's resolved and supercharged in so many ways. And I think about that with AI all the time. Like, it's easy to sit and think AI can take my job, or less people will be in the creative industries, for example, in my industry because of AI. Or, hey, the people in creative industries can do a lot more with one person than they used to be able to do, right? And so I think you can see the bad side or you can see the great side, and we just have to figure out what we're going to do with it.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. We're one of those companies that believes AI is here to empower people, not to replace people. And I've seen enough within our company over and over again that that's what it can do. And so I'm a big believer in that. And so if you're able to empower people and look at and position AI that way, your actual returns are actually higher than trying to just take the department and just kind of throw it out the window.
Sure. Where can our audience find SEO Vendor and find you?
We're always available through our website, seovendor.co, and also through our email, ask@seovendor.co. Anybody can just feel free to reach out to us if they have any questions at any time.
Awesome. Jim, thank you so much for being on BeyondSaaS. And you can find me, Jason Niedle, at tethos.com. And don't forget to grab that hyperscale playbook at tethos.com/podcast. I really appreciate everyone listening. Please share the episode with a friend. That really helps us out a lot. And if you have any questions or comments, shoot them over and we will make sure we get them answered or aired. Until next time, this is BeyondSaaS.